David, thanks for jumping on the podcast.
It's my pleasure to be here.
When you think about successful marketing in the second half of 2025, what are some of the non-negotiables that you think marketing teams need to have in place?
The non-negotiables are really, we can often look at it, is it SEO, is it SEM, is it digital, is it harnessing AI? But I really look at it as the core traits of marketing. And the business really needs to know these core traits are there. And they're the traits of agility, balance, and growth. If they know that marketing is focused on delivering growth and delivering the commercial outcomes, and it positions marketing far better within the organisation. If I unpack that a little bit, the agility means, hey, it's 2:30 now. Well, what are the changing priorities? Where we have a plan, we're executing to that. Execution is key and critical, but we're also helping navigate the business. So, and it's the customer compass more than a customer map. So what's changed? What's working? What's not working? Are there other competing priorities? So really important time to really nail those around those three attributes as well for half two.
Got it. And you talked about the other components. Obviously, growth was another one.
Yeah.
A lot of people are demanding from marketers to hit higher numbers, lower budgets. There's a bit of a budget cut that's going around, especially in the tech space. It's a little bit tight. What are your thoughts on that front in terms of what should marketers kind of have in place with that lens?
We've really got to make sure that marketing is there to drive the business. So I would suggest don't talk leads you're generating, talk revenue opportunities you're presenting to the business. So if each deal is $100,000 and you've generated 10 of those, that's $1 million of potential revenue you bring into the business. You'll find that will be perceived, that'll be taken on board far more effectively by sales management and the general leadership within the business. It is key that you have a relationship with sales leadership. It's key that you have a relationship with finance. It's key that you have a relationship with product. You cannot go about just executing on the marketing plan. We talked about agility, balance, and growth. And agility really is, as we said, it's that flexibility. Are the plans right? Are they firing for us? Is it driving the ROI? The growth is a growth mindset. Speak to product, speak to sales. What's working? What products give us greater margin? Speak to finance. What's the P&L looking like? Is it a margin challenge we have, or is it a revenue challenge we have? So that growth mindset helps us enormously in how we deliver for the business. Otherwise, the danger is, as you alluded to, we're seen as a cost center. Gee, sales aren't where it should be. Let's save some dollars. Gee, there's a marketing budget there. So therefore, marketing budget is often hit.
You said, hey, one of the important things is talking about revenue, right? And not lead gen. I definitely 100% agree with you on the lead gen stuff. One of the maybe issues that marketers might bring up with that is, well, I'm not responsible for revenue. I can maybe create pipeline, but I can't drive it to close. And therefore, should I be responsible for it? If I'm driving pipeline and my pipeline numbers are there, isn't that enough from my angle? And should I be talking about revenue and responsible for that? I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on that on that kind of philosophy and approach.
Marketing absolutely has to be conscious of the whole go-to-market motion, and that starts right at the basics of defining market and value proposition and enablement and marketing execution. So if marketing leadership that says, I'm sorry, I'm only really focused on this piece, that can be a recipe for disaster. So aligning and making sure that the business priorities are our priorities, it's embedded in our KPIs, and it's what we're driving at, positions marketing fundamentally different. It positions it, as we were alluding to before, as a growth engine for the business. So that relationship we were talking about, and when I say relationship, it absolutely is. You should have in your diary interlocks with finance, sales, product, leaderships. You should have updates. You should have listening posts. And marketeers, we're solutionists. We love to drive a solution in a market. But I'd suggest we need 2 ears and 1 mouth in reference to those engagement with the stakeholders. Learn from them. What are their challenges? What are they seeing? What's working? What's not working? Really have that understanding. Really take that input. And that input is absolutely critical from all those stakeholders. But I would say take the input, not necessarily the direction. The direction is the value that marketing brings. And it may sound like a little nuance, but if they're saying this is the effect that I want, this is the desired outcome, then marketing can use our strategic value and our go-to-market build to help craft the commercial reality that the business is driving towards.
If I can go back, do you think marketing should own revenue or marketing should own pipeline?
I think there's an ownership right through the chain. Do they own MQLs? Yeah, absolutely. No. But to say, oh, we've got MQLs, fantastic, we delivered you 73, go get them, and they haven't been converted to an SQL, so it doesn't have a customer desired solution or a timeline or a budget attached to it. That's what we've got to drive at, because it's not real. And I'll tell you, in my last role, we had MQLs that were being generated. What we found, but, is the pursuit of those leads were very, very slow. And in the business to business space, we found customers are wanting an answer to their queries almost immediately. And to get back to them days after or weeks after just wasn't right. So we designed a digital team, inside sales team, inside marketing, whatever you want to call it, and we could rapidly deploy out on those inquiries. So it meant that when we got an MQL come in, whether it was from a campaign, from the website, choose your medium, we were responding to that customer within minutes or hours. The conversion rate went up from MQL to SQL, so that changed dramatically. But to your earlier point, it's marketing's responsibility to follow that through. Because in the B2B space, depending on your technology or the solution you're driving, sometimes the gestation period of the deal could be a year and a half. So we've got to maintain visibility on those opportunities, how they convert, how we interface our CRM into Salesforce, what happened to those leads, be involved in the sales stand-ups, and then be able to see them through to their fruition and the revenue they generate. That's real measurement of marketing value.
You brought up a number of points that I think is really critical, right? So, and I love the fact that you brought in, again, whatever you want to call it, SDR team, inside sales rep, marketing, inside marketing rep. It's a new title for that role, I've heard.
Yes.
Business development or whatever you want to call them, to report to marketing to get that full ownership and really drive, like, have those first conversations with those prospects happens with marketing before they go into sales. Is that the direction that, or the kind of the structure that you build? It sounds like it was at Focus. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And look, they can be called a whole lot of things, as you said. To call them what they are or the service they deliver to your internal customers is the best option. So sales discovery reps, probably the best option there. But to the point as well is the funding of that. Now, in marketing, we have limited funding. Key and critical to engage our stakeholders in sales to be able to take them through the map of what we could deliver, even over a short period. So in that example I gave you, we actually didn't recruit people. We went to a third-party organisation funded by sales because they love the concept, they love the idea of it. And that third party put them in for 3 to 6 months. So they're a contracted period. We could then we could then evaluate it. We could see whether it was going to be a success for us. Now, sales initially said, we want them in our organisation. We said, okay, no problems at all. So you're going to do the training for them. You're going to do the briefings for them. You're going to do the product campaign overviews for them. So the answer to that was, geez, well, we've got to do a whole lot of things. So marketing took that over. So marketing did the briefings. Marketing did the enablement. Because again, enablement without a campaign is just information that washes over you and it's gone. Enablement and then build the campaign immediately saw a dramatic change in effects. Ran through the period, proved the model, and then employed FTEs. So we no longer needed external contract. I think proving the model is really important. And make sales the winner. Make sales the success. It's no use marketing going, hey, look how fantastic. There's sales discovery reps. They're yours. This is what the results that you're driving. And I think that engenders greater support and recognition and partnership, if you like, between sales, marketing, and product in that case.
You've brought up a topic that it's dear to my heart, and this is kind of like from our agency side. We implemented, and what we saw was a dramatic shift in terms of how we work with clients, where we used to design a program and then maybe work with SDR or BDR, whatever it is, function inside of a client company, and then execute in that. And it's just always lukewarm. Maybe it would work, maybe it wouldn't. And the moment that we took that ownership and either we brought a resource or a resource was directly reporting to us, just changed the game. So I love the idea around marketing should own that We call it sales discovery rep, which is again stands for SDR. I love it. But I love that concept, right? Another thing that I want to touch on, and you brought us up in the previous thing that you said. You said that they had to be there in weekly sales meetings. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, marketing and the SDRs, when we were briefing a new campaign, were there in the sales meetings. I think that's important for a whole lot of reasons. First is the listening post. Just have an understanding of what's going on, what's working, what's not, what large deals are progressing that perhaps started with an opportunity, and what other deals are available for us to be able to support in a way. So again, understanding from sales what's going on, understanding their pain and their pleasure that they're experiencing, and therefore being able to offer our support and engagement. It's the chance for us to then do a bit of a 360 on that and say, fantastic. Last week we spoke about this. You highlighted these as your challenges. What we'd like to put forward is a consideration for this campaign. What are your thoughts and what are your views on it? We're thinking we're going to do an SD-WAN campaign. We're going to target this type of the market. We're going to have an offer with a specific expiry period. Do you think that would work? Are there subsegments? So that kind of consultation with sales is absolutely gold because they're so used to a cookie cutter approach. Oh, here comes a campaign. It's going to my customers. I don't want it to go to the customer. I'm speaking about something else, or it's not the right time for other reasons. So getting them in early and having that understanding and support, again, is really, really key because it turns our campaign into the collective's campaign and initiative. And it engenders better buy-in, better focus, and better drive of the campaigns.
I love the rabbit hole we've gone down here. I think that it's a very important point. I believe it's one of the elements that moves the lever massively at a kind of, let's say, lower end of the middle of funnel, or even at the bottom of the funnel for marketing, which I think is really critical. I want to talk about ABM because I know you've done a number of programs that would kind of come under the ABM umbrella. And look, ABM has been around for a little while. How do you think it's going to evolve this year? What are the kind of changes? Where does account-based selling come in?
Yeah. Look, ABM, you're right, has been around for many years, and I prefer to call it account-based selling because that's what it is. Some call it ABX, and give it that level of flexibility, but critical success is ABS. I think what it does, it engenders that it's not just a marketing thing, it's an us thing, and we will be successful if we focus and we execute it together. Sales absolutely, positively has a key and critical involvement in ABS in reference to one-to-one, one-to-few, one-to-many. It links back into the overall nurture campaigns that are running and should be running within marketing, the B2B space. We should be touching our customers regularly. I'm always saying to inform, to educate, and to offer. If we keep banging them over the head, say, buy this, the relationship soon turns into either a transactional one or the relationship becomes an unsubscribed one. So to be able to inform and educate, those first two pieces are really valuable. The customer appreciates that. It might be a technology briefing on low Earth orbit satellites. It might be an advice on trends that are happening around in AI without the sell. That helps you map your customers' maturity as they engage. And you will see customers start to engage content in a very, very different way if you are positioned in that old trusted advisor piece. So your ABM, your one-to-many nurture is critical. And I would also say in discussions even with finance and sales and others is that marketing just isn't SEO and SEM and the campaigns. It's everything we do. It's the campaigns, it's brand, it's events, it's everything you can see and do and feel within the marketing spectrum. Integrated marketing is part of that influence. So therefore, when you start saying improving the value and trying to put an ROI, don't be shy to be able to say the influence has value and articulate that value. You can see it in Salesforce. You can see the customers, what they've touched, what content they've engaged, what events they've attended. And even when you look at a sale in a customer, go into their Salesforce, look at activities. You'll see the awareness and influence that customers are having. And that's from just your one-to-many. When you move to your one-to-few, you can start really getting precise. One-to-few for me is really in the industry stuff. So it really is, you start going into healthcare. and it's a low Earth orbit satellite in our business might be great. It's fast, it's got great coverage, etc. But you know what? For medical practitioners, that's not it. It's about patient care. It's about recovery times. It's about bed availability. So really getting in the understandings within the segment is critical as you start moving to one to few and then one to one, which does involve and require an intimate engagement with sales, and it needs to be scheduled. You need to have it on the calendar. We will outreach on this day. You will outreach on that day with a phone call. And that's why when you start going down that one-to-one and one-to-few, you really need to have committed sales leaders and committed people. Don't activate it right across the entire sales force. Get the heroes. Make them a hero if they're not already. Show that the model works and it is worthy of investment before you scale.
So it sounds like you have a few battle scars.
Yes.
From sales involvement. Tell me a little bit about, you said, be very clear with sales that we're going to do outreach here. You're going to do outreach there. I feel like I know where this is going. Tell me a little bit about the battle scars of what has gone wrong in that situation in the past.
Yeah, look, I think with sales, and I feel we're all in sales. We're all really driving. We all want an intimate relationship with our customers, and we're all trying to use that customer compass in the best thing. I think we've all probably experienced perhaps sales going, you know what, I need a brochure, needs to be red at the top, needs to have some splash of colour, needs to have a $99 a month with a star on the top right-hand corner, get me that by tomorrow and we're all good. And sometimes we kind of fall down that path and our relationship changes. We become support to sales. And I mean that in the nicest possible way, but at the end of the day, they're not marketing. And it gets back to that earlier point I said, take their input, absolutely. Take the reasons why they're wanting to do it. And take their experience of what's worked and what hasn't worked. But really, it's marketing that will actually come forward with the approach based on that. And the battle scars that you've suggested, absolutely, they do come from experience.
Tell
This
me
is a
what's gone
lot.
wrong. Tell me an example that you said the scene and the marketing hit them up, and then all of a sudden crickets and sales like, oh, sorry, I forgot. So I got to do that.
Yeah. Look, one that comes up was a big event we invested quite significantly in, and we'd done outreach prior to the event. All the stuff you should do. We're going to have a great stand there. We've got 2 speaking opportunities. We've got a cocktail thing in the late afternoon of one of them where people can come to the stand. We've got a great stand.
Sounds very expensive.
All that kind of stuff. Great event, big investment. A lot of people coming through. Started the outreach prior, did some stuff on social. We're going to be there. Start laying the breadcrumbs, having a plan sort of post-event. Okay, this is what the outreach is going to be on the leads that we generate and the conversations we had. But comes the event and it turns into like a social occasion. They're meeting customers. They're not scanning anything. We had a great conversation. You've got all the people on the stand, and then all of a sudden there's nobody on the stand. So, at the end of that, after the investment, we were looking after day one, and it's like, where's the leads? Oh, yeah, I had some great conversations. With who? Oh, just a few people in the industry. What about? Just about general things. It was frustrating in the regards because there was so much work and energy and investment financially, a lot of people's travel time, etc. And it really didn't pay off because we really didn't get the leads that we generated from it. Was it part of a bigger nurture? Absolutely it was. But really, was it measurable for us?
You said that don't work with the entire sales organization, the entire sales force. Create champions. I think that connects very closely to what you're talking about here. So my question is, how did you change your approach after that experience so that you have not only buy-in from sales, buy-in might be the wrong word, having sales fully quote unquote committed, participating, actually being part of the plan. How did you change your approach to make that more effective?
Yeah, heroes champions are key. You've got to have people that are absolutely committed to it and that are perhaps already driving success within the business. And that's what we did. We identified those champions. We got them involved in early. We actually used the 2 ears in one mouth and said, how do you do it? What's the magic? What's the success? How are you engaging? What does your engagement look like? How are you presenting the content? How are you identifying the low-lying fruit? So it was really kind of a knowledge gathering exercise. And what we found was an enormous amount of benefit in doing that, and with leadership as well. But it led us to benefit around enablement, that we were short when it came to the enablement. Here we thought we created this event and it was going to be fantastic, but we hadn't enabled them. We hadn't given them the right tools. We hadn't pre-qualified. We hadn't organised something that we did in the future, such as organised discovery sessions for them post events. So I think the champions really helped us, the heroes really helped us define what those pieces of gold are and how we should do it better. And then being able to get sales leadership to be able to support it, and then to get the right people. In fact, even right down to creating a schedule of who's on the stand at what time and who attends and who doesn't. And the presentations, being really tight on the presentations. And that was so much so that we said, fantastic, Mary, you're a presenter. Please give us the bullet points of your outline and help us craft something for you. So it was really being close in the participation and the involvement, etc. on that, and then activating other streams, like social. So with our heroes, we were videoing them prior to the event. We were pushing them out so people could see it. We were videoing them during the event. We were pushing it out so people knew why they needed to come and engage us. So it was just a far deeper type of engagement. And on the follow-up, it was so deep that we discovered things that might sound ridiculous, but carried so much weight. Now, I'll give you an example of this. This is government and this is defence, right? So government, a hard nut to crack. It's all about relationships. How long have we been doing business together? Are you truly a trusted partner? And that's federal government, right? You go to defence, you need to be sovereign. So what we found is we'd done some technology briefings because you can't say, hey, I'm from vendor A, I'm from company A, come and see me try to convince you why we're the best. They won't attend. In fact, they're not allowed to attend. If it's a technology briefing or it's a commemoration, that's very different and they can attend. So taking on the feedback from our sales leaders and our frontline salespeople, we got an intimate understanding of how defence worked and how, in some cases, they would have a vendor and they would either red flag, amber flag, or green flag them, and individuals that they could and couldn't talk to. It also came back to this trusted advisor. So we'd been dealing with defence through the organisation and through organisations we'd acquired previously for over 20 years. We found out that senior defence, when they work on a large project, they, believe it or not, create a coin. And this coin symbolises the strength of their relationship. It symbolises the achievement that they've both made together. And it is a testament to the work that they will do, not only today, but into the future. So what we did is we
David,
crafted. Yeah.
Who creates this coin?
We did.
I see. You.
The coin is created. So these coins are created by defence. Let's say if I'm in defence and I'm dealing with US defence, there will be these coins that are exchanged between those two parties.
It is between the vendor and
No, it's traditionally between defence and defence. So it's within defence. It's within defence agencies. It might be Australian defence working with US defence on a particular project. So they are normally within the defence industry. But what we realised is that the meaningful purpose of it, the ability to work together to drive common goals, the partnership, the mateship. So there were attributes like that we were uncovering. So what we did is we actually crafted a coin. And this coin, can't see it from where you are, but it actually has symbolisation of Navy, Army, Air Force, and also a little person on it with AI on it. So it covers all of those services, and it says proudly Australian owned and operated, has sovereign, secure, all the things that are really important. So, and this symbolised the 20 years of that work. Now, to give a coin is one thing, and oh, here it is, great work. But what we did is we hired the War Memorial in Canberra, and we got an amazing MC who was our Governor General, Sir Peter Cosgrove, and he was also the head of defence. And on the evening, he spoke about mateship and he spoke about working with partners, and there was no sell whatsoever. It was a recognition of the hard work. And at one stage in between entree and dinner, people came out and Peter Cosgrove shook their hand and then gave them the coin. So with our CEO, etc. So very symbolic, very emotional. People had photos with them, etc. There was no sell on it, but it's further cemented what was really important for that segment being defence.
I love that story.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
such a good story. and you've
And just
taken
picture it. You're in the War Memorial in Canberra. There's aircraft hanging these giant planes having over your head, and the legend is Sir Peter Cosgrove. And yeah, it was special. Yeah.
it's just such a great example. It's such a personalized. It's like it's not textbook ABM. It is like the next level in terms of the personalization and the thought
Mm.
that has gone through it into it. That's such a great case study.
And the point is, we would have never known about it had we not had those conversations with sales, with probably our most experienced frontline sales leader who had intimate relationships with defence. He started talking about this, and we're like, tell me more about that. What is that? What does that look like? And then turned it into what it was. So yeah, really take the time to listen and engage.
I'd love to listen to that recording of how the conversation of coins came up to
Yeah.
then lead to this kind of program. I want to zoom out a little bit,
Mm.
right? We've talked about kind of sales alignment. We've talked about ABM, of course. Are there any other key elements of go to market that you think it's essential for driving growth, especially in complex deals? Maybe we haven't touched on yet.
Yeah, I think it really is important, go to market. Some people say, oh, go to market, what is it? That's the offer. Here's the product, what's the offer? But you've really got to slow down with go to market. You've really got to identify what is the market? What is the market we're going for? It's all of enterprise. No, no, no. Break it down. What is the value proposition? What's going to resonate? What makes us stand out? What's the competitive landscape? Now, let's be honest. Don't just say a company. What are they doing in the market? What have they done? What are they proposed to do? And I think that's really important, a differentiation. I think we race through it. Differentiation can often be feeds and speeds. It can be specifications, and that's just not it. So look at your competitors' maturity. Look at those relationships. Look at how embedded they are. Look at their ability to execute proof of concepts faster than you. And then once you get through that, it's really time for the messaging framework. And again, frameworks often are overpassed, and a framework is really an expansion of your value proposition. Now, the value proposition is a silver bullet, but of course, every customer is different. They're not going to look at your value proposition and go, that's it. Now, the example I'll always use with a team or others is, okay, you're buying a car, someone wants 4 doors, someone wants to carry a lot of stuff, someone wants to pull a boat, and someone wants to sports car. I think the messaging framework is really key, and that's where you really unpack it. That's where you really say, okay, what are the segments? It's healthcare, it's defence, it's energy and resources, it's manufacturing, it's FSI. I know it can be time consuming, but it is critical. Now, within those segments, what is it? Is it the CIO? Okay, yes, it is. Oh, is it the CFO? Well, yes, it is. Is it the head of HR? Is it the head of marketing? Is it a CMO? Who are those key stakeholders? Because ABM or ABS is most effective when you're engaging multiple stakeholders. So not just if your CIO is your thing, not just knock on the door of the CIO. If this solution benefits HR, this is a SaaS solution and it's great for HR. You're engaging HR as well as the CIO. I remember reading an article about a very large software as a service organization, and they said the last person you should engage is what was traditionally the primary target, the CIO. Articulate the value for the individual and for the business, where the value resides, not through the person that will implement that solution in the organization. So your messaging framework is going to be really, really key for you to be able to break that through. So again, cross industries, again, across titles, etc. If you're looking as the call to action to be a proof of concept, does that change the messaging framework? Is there a different message for the person that will do the POC, the proof of concept? And then after all of that, that's when you start getting to your marketing plan. All right, what are we going to do in integrated marketing? We're going to use SEO and SEM. Are we going to do digital campaigns? So all of that other stuff's got to come before. So that gives you a really good grasp.
I see this over and over. You talk about industry, you talked about enterprise, and you talk about industry. What do you do in situations, because we're, especially in ANZ, the enterprise accounts in a industry might not be big enough to be able to run a program against it, right? Some people, for example, would say, hey, I want to go enterprise, let's say airlines, aviation. Well, there's really 2 companies in there. Well, I can't run a program for 2 companies. I want to do mining, enterprise. Well, there's maybe 4 or 5 companies that are really at the top of the list there. Okay, well, we can't really run a program for 4 or 5. Is that a problem that you've faced before where you're looking at the enterprise space, but especially in the Australian market, the total number of accounts is not big enough to be able to run just the program for those?
I would argue, when we look at, the one-to-one, one-to-few, one-to-many, the one-to-many should be touching everybody.
Mm.
You shouldn't be excluding anyone. It should be generic enough that it has power and influence. Like we said before, inform, educate. It might be the inform and educate. So that's the touching it. You're touching it with your brand. You're touching it with your outreach. When you start looking at those subsegments, like you said, you might say, well, airlines is a subsegment. Then you might say, well, hang on, which airlines are current customers versus prospects? Because the current customers are a far greater priority than the prospects. There's a lot of analytics around. It says, the value of a current customer versus a prospect, and the ability to be able to work with them, land and expand within those accounts. I would suggest also that AI is your friend. AI is your wingman. AI is your assistant. It will help you craft content. It will help you scale and work more effectively. I'm not saying we're handing the keys over to AI to do everything, but I am saying that if
Not yet,
you
not yet.
not yet, not yet. We're sipping that pina colada on a beach one day, but not quite yet. I would suggest it enables you to procure content more effectively. Now, it might do it 60% there or 70% there. You still need to check it. You still need to add your nuances, but it does enable you to scale more effectively. I would also say get ahead of the game. When you're building your marketing plan, now some people say keep 30% as a CMO, keep 30% of your budget just in case for stuff. I'm not a fan of that. I'm a fan of being able to have a solid plan that you've consulted with, you've worked with your partners, you've worked with your stakeholders, you understand your marketplace and have a plan in place. And that means your budgets are allocated for the second half on delivering specific ROIs. Now, if opportunity knocks and there's another possibility that you can embark upon, then what a great opportunity you've got. You can look and say to your stakeholders, whoever it's passed it to you, let's compare it with the current plan. Is it going to develop something as effective or the outcome as beneficial? Also, is it aligned to the strategy that we've agreed on? Because we said airlines was a major focus and we've touched them in the first half, and now we're maturing that conversation in the second half. So if we're going to swap it out with your new suggestion, that will impact that. So that's a great and a healthy conversation to have. It also means that if someone comes knocking and says, oh, geez, we're trying to pull the building, can we have some of that marketing budget? You're in a position to say, we've optimized our budget for campaigns and initiatives right across the year, right across the segments. So it makes the budget commitment a little bit stickier for us.
David, I got some rapid fire questions for you. Ready?
Yeah.
First question I got is, what is one resource? This could be a book, a podcast, a talk, whatever it is, that has had a fundamental impact on the way that you work or live.
You know what? Seth Godin is a pretty amazing guy. He's got some great podcasts. I remember reading a book, Purple Cow, defining how you really need to differentiate, how you really need to stand out. But I would also say with Seth, he's an incredible talent, a prolific writer, a thought leader. There is a lot in which he says that you can actually implement. And there's a lot in which he says and articulates that you can think about. So I'm not saying that every word that comes henceforth from him is gold, but really powerful, thought-provoking, really keeps you on your toes and on your game. So I'd say Seth.
Second question, if you could give only one advice to B2B marketers, what would it be?
Listen.
You got 2 ears and 1 mouth.
That's it. Use it in that proportion.
Who are some of you talked about Seth Godin, but who are some of the other industry experts, thought leaders, influencers, whatever you want to call them, but people that you listen to or you kind of consume their content?
Other than this channel, of course.
Of course. Let's put this aside.
It's right up there, I think the diversity in knowledge where you get it. I would encourage people to go in and look at AI marketing mastery, check that out, see what they've got to say. I think it helps bring a tapestry together. With ChatGPT, we've always said the benefits there, but have a look at what Google's doing. Have a look at what Microsoft's doing. OpenAI is absolutely incredible, but it really is going to change the game in reference to how we operate. It is revolutionary. It is revolutionary to how we do things going forward. Will it change? Absolutely, but it will accelerate. So I'd say, to answer your question, be flexible. Look at different points of view because this space is changing so rapidly. I used to work many years ago for Telstra, and there was a gentleman called David Fody. He was the CEO. He was the head of enterprise and government when I was there, and I was running marketing. And he was amazing. But what he would do, if you're asking him questions, he would literally play the question back to you. He'd say, okay, so what you're saying is da, 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 da. What do you think we should do? And he'd let you discover your own solution. I think through a broader
bounces his monkeys off his
fantastic.
back and back on your back.
That's it. The genius of the man.
I love it. Last question is, what is something that excites you about B2B today?
I think it's customer intimacy.
Yeah.
Like this is not consumer where we're just blasting it out to the minions and having a look at what the digital reaction is. We've got a huge opportunity with customer intimacy in the B2B space. And don't lose that. You have the ability to engage your customers, pick up the phone, go out with a salesperson, speak to the customer directly, create a focus group, do a listening post. Don't just rely on one source of feedback about customer change. So that's what really excites me, that customer intimacy in the B2B space. So I think it gets us closer to the requirements, and it puts that customer compass in our hands.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was an awesome chat.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. And I love your podcast. Thank you.